No, that's different. Lucy, that's different. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, an assembled company, welcome to the World Storytelling Cafe. Whether you're out there in Zoomland, whether you're watching on Facebook Live, whatever platform you're watching on, watching or listening, and whether you're in the cafe, live in the cafe. We have give it our technology doesn't go that far. We could spin the camera around, but actually I will, because no, it's all right. I'll put it back in the right place. This is so you can see our audience. Marvelous wave audience. Right. Now, have you got a hit? Got it quickly. Yes, got it. Or do I need to do that on the phone? There we are. Marvelous. The wonders of technology. All this is done. All this is being done on a camera that is being driven by an elastic band, and that's the truth. Do come in, and we've brought everyone here. They walked to Morocco. Everyone walked to Morocco, or they swam, or they flew. Or occasionally, one family came down by magic carpet from Fez, and but right now we have a plethora of tellers tonight, and they will be introduced by one. Do come in. We're live. We can stop and start. Do come in. We have lots of chairs. We have chairs there. Yeah, go where you like. Don't go in front of the camera. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, and we've got a couple more chairs here. Yeah, Dad needs to be sitting down. Oh, in that case, just keep standing up, probably for hours. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and assembled company, I will pass over to someone who's far more coherent than I am. One, a Baden Prince.
Well, that was 10 minutes ago. The joys of going out live. What could possibly go wrong that hasn't already? Anyway, good evening, everyone, and welcome. Welcome to everyone here at the cafe. Welcome to everyone watching and listening wherever you may be. Let's have a wave. And quickly moving on. Tonight, we're going to start with the gentleman who I met at the Get a Word in Edgeways Festival last year. A wonderful writer and storyteller who was kind enough to share with me the story that he's going to share with us and you tonight. Keith Rogers with the Blue Violin.
The Blue Violin. But first, we must return to the mid-18th century, to the town of Cremona in northern Italy. Picture, if you will, a cobbled square with a magnificent church at one end, and either side stone arches above which the merchants ply their trade. It's early morning, the sun is just creeping over the buildings, and people are beginning to move about, and the quiet is broken by the rattle of wooden wheels and the clatter of hooves on the cobbles, for a caravan moves into the square. It's driven by a man in a white shirt and red trousers and a red beret. And next to him is a woman with a white blouse and red skirt and a red neckerchief. And the caravan stops in the square. And they take out their wares, pots and pans and pegs and lucky heather for above the door. And people glance as they go past, taking a slight interest until a small boy steps out onto the platform at the back of the caravan, and in his hand he has a blue violin, and he takes the bow and he begins to move it back and forth over the strings, and the music swirls around the square and soars into the air, and a crowd gathers to listen to the music. And of course, as they gather, they remember that they perhaps need a new pot or a pan, and you can't have too many pegs, and it's always a good idea to have lucky heather over your door. And at the back of the crowd, there is an old man, an instrument maker, and he's smiling because it's a long time since he has heard a violin played so beautifully, and why one so young. But above the square, in an office, is a man in a fine robe with a gold chain, working with his quill at a ledger. A man whose only talent is to get people to part with their money. He listens to the music and stands up in a huff and slams the window shut and sits down again. Then the rumour begins. The violin must be magic. For whoever heard of a blue violin, and played so wonderfully by a small boy? And the people of Cremona liked the idea that there was a magic violin in their midst. It is now night time, and a bright moon lights the square, but it is still. The only sound is the family sleeping in the caravan, but a figure is walking through the arches. A figure all dressed in black, no fancy fur collar or gold chain now. And that figure creeps across the square, reaches into the caravan, takes the violin and bow, walks out to the square, climbs on his horse, gallops out of the town, into the woods, right into the woods till he comes to a clearing. And even then, he looks around to see if he's been seen. He dismounts his horse and he takes the violin as he'd seen the boy do. And he takes the bow and he begins to skew the bow back and forth over the strings. And the sound is hideous. He's surprised. He expects a magic violin. He starts again and he moves his fingers on the neck as he'd seen the boy do when he looked out the window. The sound is even worse. He becomes furious now, and he rakes the bow back and forth over the strings into a temper, gritted teeth. The sound is horrendous. He takes the violin in his temper by the neck and he smashes it against a tree and he flings it into the undergrowth. He stands there for a moment while his heart is beating in anger and his teeth are clenched. And he climbs onto his horse and he gallops back into the town. The next morning, the quiet of the square is broken by a small boy crying, by his parents angrily putting away their wares and slamming the shutters. A crowd gathers. How could it be? Soon it will be news across northern Italy that Cremona is the type of town where someone would steal a small boy's violin. The shame! All the crowd are talking at the same time. Until they part. And the old man steps forward. He has a violin case. And as he reaches the caravan, the husband goes about to speak, but his wife touches his arm. And he goes up to the small boy and he takes out a beautiful, brown, shiny, brand new violin and he hands it over to him. And the boy holds this violin against his chest and he sniffs back a tear and he takes the bow and he moves it back and forth over the strings. And the music swirls around the square and soars into the air. And the crowd cheer in appreciation and relief. But above the square, a window slammed shut. Thank you, the Blue Violet.
Another round of applause for Keith Rogers. I love that story so much. I spoke to Keith about it and he said, out of appreciation, and that really surprised me, that it was actually an original story that he'd written himself. And he then sent me a copy, which I really appreciated. And I had a go at telling it at an event and it went down really, really well. And I sent him some comments as if I know anything about literature. And he was really appreciative. And actually, I had it in mind to do that story tonight, but not in front of Keith. And I'm sure you'll all appreciate why. Let's give him another applause. And I'd like to take this opportunity to say hi to everyone who's dropped in tonight. Jody, Babasi, inevitably, Mr. Alan Fitzjohn. How are you doing, sir? It's all right. Keep your mic muted. We don't need to know. And to Lil and family, thanks for coming by. There's no Louis tonight. Is he okay? Let's hope we'll see him. Louis is an amazing child who has come. I think this is only the second of our Friday night events for children that he's not been present at since we started, which is some record. We call him King Louis, and actually we're gonna change the name of the Friday night event to Louis' Night. No, that doesn't work, does it? Yeah, we need to go back to the drawing board. Okay, and now you've got another treat coming up. I only met this young lady about 5 minutes before we were due to start. And I heard that she's got an Anansi puppet, and I thought, this I've got to see. And I saw it, and we spent like 15, 20 minutes kind of talking about it and seeing what the puppet could do. I was so enthralled, forgot to ask her what her name was. So all I know is that she's called Selma. So welcome Selma and Anansi. You do yours first.
Okay. I look forward. Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm happy to be here with everyone. First time to tell a story live. And I would like to introduce also my marionettes. Anansi, the trickster.
Oh, yeah.
Hello. And Anansi starts my story. Yes. You have good company. Look after. And I like much Anansi as a character, and I read some stories about him, and it inspired me to do this marionette. It's like a man and a spider at the same time. So now I will try for the first time to tell a story and manipulating Anansi at the same time. It's gonna win. Okay. Because I'm a middle professional storyteller. It's my first time. So, once upon a time, there was a spider named Anansi. He was known that he's known a lot of tricks, and he uses those tricks to get what he wants. So, once there was a famine in his village, and there was no much food and no much water, and he didn't know what to do. At the same village lived a witch that her name was Fire, and she didn't appreciate this name, and the people bothered her a lot. Hey witch, how are you? Give me fire. And she lives away, and she sits under a tree, and some kids come to count the fruits Oh, there is how many mango trees? 1, 2, 3, 4, and oh, okay. So she got so mad. Okay, I will use my magic now. So I will cast a spell over the people. Anyone that pronounces my name, he will sleep for 1 year. Who heard of it and started to use this spell? Me. I think I should find a way to use this spell to get some food for me and for my family. Okay, first animals that passes in front of me, I will use the spell to get what I want. And Nancy managed to save 5 piles of corn. To avoid saying 5, this is the first, only the first one. He saw a rabbit coming out from another village that was starving, and he told him, hey, my friend rabbit, how are you? Oh, I'm so hungry. No food for my kids to feed. Can you help me, my friend? Of course I can. If you help me to count those piles that I'm sitting on, I can give you some of them. I don't know how to count, you know. Okay, of course I can count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the rabbit slept suddenly for 1 year. So Anansi took the rabbits and ate him and shared him with his family. He's hungry. Here comes a squirrel. A week passed, everything is fine. He started to be hungry again. Yes, Mr. Squirrel, are you hungry? Yes, please give me some food. Okay, I can help you. I can lend you some food, but please help me to count those piles. I don't know how to count. Okay, I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He slept. He ate him. Okay, time passed. I'm hungry again. What should I do? How can I catch this stuff? There comes Mrs. Goose. Very, very weak, very hungry. Hello, Mrs. Goose. Are you hungry? I have food to share. Yes, I'm hungry. Will you please give me some of your food? Of course, I can. You just need to count the piles I'm sitting on, and I share my food with you. Sure, I will. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one you're sitting on. No, this is wrong. Please count again. This is not the right number. Sure, I will repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one you're sitting on. No, this is not so. It should be this way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And the goose was happy. She won Anansi's trickster, and she ate, and she took the piles and shared them with all the village. And
I don't believe that's the first time you've done that. That's
really?
Yeah.
Thank you
So much. So nice.
Now,
I say, all right.
yeah. And tell us when you can see us both. And now, I believe the term you're looking for here is double jeopardy. Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
So I'm going to try and do a storytelling together with Selma. And it's an Anansi story. You might figure that bit out for yourselves, yeah? And, okay, good. And then Selma's going to sort of emphasize elements of the story using the Anansi puppet. And it's going to work seamlessly. Trust me. Trust me, Larissa. And the story we're going to do is Anansi and Mr. Drybones, which Selma's never heard or heard of. But it's going to work. It's going to be fun. Once upon a time, there was a young woman called Miss Louise. Nearly fell at the first head, but you remember her name. Miss Louise was the most beautiful woman in, well, some people say she was the most beautiful woman in Bowlands Village. Bowlands Village in Antigua, where I come from, has some beautiful women. Some say she was the most beautiful woman in the island of Antigua, and Antigua's got some beautiful women. Some people said she was the most beautiful woman in the whole of the Caribbean. In fact, look, I can see I'm not getting through to you. This woman was so beautiful. She was almost as beautiful as the women in this room. Now you've got it, yeah?
Yeah.
Now you've got it. Smooth.
Yes.
She was beautiful, but she was sad. And the reason she was sad is that never in her life had she ever been able to laugh. Nobody had ever been able to make her laugh. And Miss Louise decided the first man to make her laugh was the man that she was going to marry. I believe that translates into self-esteem issues, but let's come back. Now, living in Bowlands Village was a very tall, very handsome, very clever man. And his name was Mr. Drybones. And if I had shakers, if I thought about it, I'd give you all shakers. And when I say dry bones, you'd go. So instead, when I say dry bones, you're going to have to all go. Mr. Drybones was in love with Miss Louise and wanted to marry her. And he heard about this strange quirk. And he was wealthy. So he went to all the best universities in the world. He went to Harvard, he went to Oxford, he went to the University of Marrakech, and he studied for not one, not two, but 3 degrees in jokeology. So, what is jokeology, I hear you ask?
What is jokeology?
It's all about the science of jokes. There's a surprise. And when Mr. Drybones had satisfied himself that he knew the funniest joke in the whole world, he went back to Miss Louise. He knocked on Miss Louise's door. Miss Louise opened the door. Yes. What do you want? He said, it's me, Mr. Drybones. Yes, I can see it's you. Thank you. I'm watching you. What do you want? Well, he said, getting straight to the point. Miss Louise, how did the Romans divide up the world? I have no idea, said Miss Louise. They used a pair of Caesars. Isn't that brilliant? Oh, I thought that was funny. Well, trouble is, you see, it doesn't matter what we think. What did Miss Louise think? Not even the faintest flicker of a hint of a suggestion of a smile crossed those stern features. She looked at him, she shook her head, and then she said, Mr. Drybones, now I know why they call you Drybones. Because everything about, and when you see an Antiguan woman starts to do this, watch out. Everything about you is dry. Even your joke. Now take your dry bones and your dry self and your dry joke and come out of my house. Oh, poor Mr. Dry Bones. But do we really feel sorry for him? No, because that joke was dry. Now, also living near Boland's village was a very handsome, very tall, and very clever young man. And his name was Anansi. Now, when Nancy saw what happened to Mr. Dry Bones, now we can forget about him, now he's gone. Saw what happened to Mr. Dry Bones, and he said, you know what? I can do better than that. But Anansi didn't go to university and college and study for 3 degrees in geology. No, he went to visit his friends. And the first friend he went to visit was Tiger, sitting over there resplendent in stripes. He knocked on Tiger's door. Tiger opened the door and roared, "What do you want, Nancy?" And Nancy said, "Nothing, Tiger. I've just come to visit you. Look at you. Look at that coat. Ooh, it's beautiful. What have you been eating? Oh my goodness." Look. Tiger roared, "Cut it out. I know you, Nancy. You want something. You only come here if you want something." Well, Nancy said, now that you mention it, there is one teeny weeny itsy little favor that I'd like to ask. "I knew it," said Tiger. "What is it?" And Nancy said, "Tiger, I'd like to borrow your coat." Tiger said, "My coat? What do you want my coat for?" Nancy said, "Well, you see, I want to visit Miss Louise." And Tiger said, "Ah, you're in love." Now, when I say you're in love, I want you all to go, "Woo." Tiger said, "You're in love."
Yes.
And Nancy said, "Yes." And Tiger said, "In that case," and he didn't give Nancy his best coat. He gave him the coat that he shuffled off last year, full of holes. It was muddy, it was falling apart, 10 sizes too big for Nancy. But Nancy took it and put it on and went next door to Alligator's house. Knocked on Alligator's door. Alligator snapped. "Who is it?" "It's me and Nancy." "What do you want?" "Nothing, Alligator. I've just come to visit you." "Oh, look at those teeth. Have you been flossing?" Alligator said, "Cut it out, Nancy. I know you. You want something. What is it?" "Well," said Nancy, "I would like to borrow your best pair of," wait for it, this is worth waiting for. Nancy said, "I'd like to borrow your best pair of Crocs." Tuffy, I should have asked you about that joke, couldn't I? Remember what happened when I came to your place? And yeah, sorry, I should have checked with you. I really should have checked. I thought it would work. "I'd like to borrow your best pair of Crocs." "What do you want my Crocs for?" said Alligator. "Well," said Nancy, "I want to visit Miss Louise." And Alligator said, "You're in love." And Nancy said, "Yes." Alligator said, "Right, in that case, hold on." And he went and got a pair of old battered Crocs with a hole in the toe and the heel falling off, gave them to Nancy. They were way too big for him, but Nancy took them, thanked him, and off he went down the road to Dog's house. Knocked on Dog's door. Dog barked. "Who is it?" And Nancy said, "It's me, Nancy." "What do you want?" "Nothing." "Of course you do." "Oh, well, in that case, I'd like to borrow your best hat." And Dog said, "What do you want with my hat?" And Nancy said, "I want to visit Miss Louise." And Dog said, "You're in love." And Nancy said, "Yes." And Dog said, "I can't give you my best fedora." And he pulled out an old straw hat that was falling apart, holes in it, ripped to pieces, gave it to Nancy, 5 times too big for him. And Nancy took it and said, "Thank you." And off he went down the road. Now, as he walked past Parrot's house, Parrot came out and looked and thought, Parrot never liked Nancy. And he went, and Nancy, where are you going in that get-up? And Nancy said, I'm off to visit Miss Louise. Parrot said, you're in love. And Nancy said, yes. And Parrot said, hang on a minute. He turned around and he pulled some feathers out of his tail, stuck them in Nancy's hat, and Nancy thanked him and off he went down the road to Miss Louise's house. Now, is Nancy going to be successful or is he not? Let's have a thought about it. If you think he's going to get through and make Miss Louise laugh and marry her, put your hands up. If you think Nancy, like in the last story, is going to come a cropper and not get anywhere, put your hands up.
But it's nearly Valentine's Day.
Yeah, but it's nothing. And if you're not sure, if you're undecided, put your hands up. And Nancy knocked on Miss Louise's door. Miss Louise opened the door and goes, oh God, it's you. And Nancy said, yes, Miss Louise, it's me. What are you doing here? I've come to visit you. What for? Because, well, as she opened her eyes, took one look, a good look, at a Nancy wearing Tiger's coat that was so big it was trailing on the ground, alligator shoes that fitted him like diver's flippers, dog's hat which came down over his eyes with those ludicrous feathers sticking out, and she went, OMG. And Nancy, and she burst out laughing. She couldn't control herself. She laughed, she laughed, she laughed till it hurt. She laughed till she cried. And then Nancy stood there watching and nodding and waiting. And when she finally ran out of breath, and he said, Miss Louise, I do believe that I'm the first man who's ever made you laugh. And she said, OMG. But it was true. And a promise is a promise. And do you know that Miss Louise and Nancy got married and they lived happily ever after. Thank you for listening. And thank you for coming and taking part in our children's show, our children's broadcast. Big round of applause to Selma. Her surname is apparently, I don't know her surname. Selma Kamel, myself. And of course, to Nancy. And to the man himself, Mr. Blue Violin, Keith Rogers. I've been Baden Prince. This has been the World Storytelling Cafe. I almost got to the end without blowing it tonight. The World Storytelling Cafe. Thank you all and good night.
Go away.
No.
Because, and I mean to move forward, don't I, son? Because I head not to be on camera. So, what is coming up? This is the pre-festival 3 days. We are here in Marrakech, about to start the International Storytelling Festival. We are going to fill the Medina with stories. We're going to fill the square, the History Museum, this place, Darbalage, anywhere that'll have us. We have phenomenal, we have great storytellers in the room, and I can count at least 300 in here with me at this very moment. Perspective is a great thing. So what's coming up? Well, as far as you're concerned, out in Zoomland, we have on a Tuesday morning at 10 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock Moroccan time. So to get here from the middle of the desert, Waleed, you're going to have to leave about the middle of the night. We have Ace Novation bringing us stories live from India and probably across Asia. Then Tuesday evening, and Babasir in Washington, D.C., I realise such things as evenings and afternoons and mornings mean nothing to you because you've got this 6-hour delay. But we have our young international tellers. When anyone, either in Marrakech, can come and in the cafe and tell a story around the world, anyone under the age of 25 years old can come and tell a story on the cafe, and it will be beamed around the globe. But right now, we can carry on broadcasting. I think we should give the world a chance to see what fine talent we have in the room. We should continue with some kind of open mic or ceilidh or story round, whatever you care to call it. But I have just been reminded by Amy Douglas, who is my memory cell, that we cannot carry on because tonight there is something else absolutely phenomenal happening in this very space. Hosted by Amy Douglas, which is Blast.
Beautiful
Blast.
lies, startling truth.
Beautiful lies and startling truth. So, and you need to start in a minute, don't you?
Well, we have a little bit of time. So, yes.
So would you like
8 p.m. GMT, 9 p.m. Moroccan time. We might have to have a little bit of a reset, and we're organising lots of early birds from the festival from around the world, and we're going to be on from 9 till 11. So I think we might need a little bit of a reset and come back at 9 Moroccan time, 8 GMT.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yes, that works. Whatever you say. I always do as I'm told.
Very wise man.
Oh yes. So reset on what I said. After tomorrow night in this very space, there will be Zev Townsend, and they won't be live, unfortunately. So Waleed, I won't be saying, why aren't you upstairs in the technical thing? Why are you looking after people? So that's downstairs, and afterwards there will be an open mic story round, ceilidh, whatever you care to call it. But right now, from everyone here, goodbye, good night, good afternoon, wherever you are in this world.
See you soon.
Fantastic. Thank you, Waleed.
Good night, guys.
The magic carpet. Thank you, Baden. Thank you, Keith. And where's Selma? Thank you, Selma.
Baden was in rare form.
Marvelous. So, do come in. Right, I'm going to leave this.
To be continued. See everyone in Morocco very soon.
Sorry, Jonathan. I probably will be right to keep going for a minute.
No,
I was going to chat with Waleed and
we just spent all afternoon programming the schools.
Yeah.
And my brain was scrambled egg. And then there was slightly ripples when I
No, don't worry. I'll come and say hello to Waleed so people can. Is this sound right?
I'm sure.
Does the sound it felt like
You're a storyteller.
Is that the
Of course. It's okay. You can tell your stories in French or Arabic or whatever you want to say. Well, yeah. So what's your name?
Speak closer to
Yeah. There's so many people, 60 people in the program. I'm John Rowe. I'm going to want to spend word on the artistic director of the festival, but sort of through here is something I mean, most of the performances will be in the middle ground. And that's the main phenomenal storyteller.